I found out that my husband was secretly going to marry his mistress in another city, and I went there myself to put an end to everything. I'm Harper, and if there's one thing I've learned in this life, it's that our greatest accomplishments can sometimes carry the seeds of our own downfall. Christian and I, through long and grueling years, were the living embodiment of that cliché of starting from scratch and making it. Our logistics company, back in Santa Fe, was more than a business. It was our third child, conceived through sweat, sacrifice, and unshakable faith in one another. I vividly remember every step, from the uncertain first days in a modest warehouse that smelled of grease and dreams, to the lively hum of the modern offices we occupy today. Nights turned into days, fueled by strong coffee and whispered promises that we would turn that little venture into a regional powerhouse. And, blessed be our persistence, we did it. Christian was my safe harbor, my partner in every calculated risk, in every debt we took on hoping for a better future. We were an unbeatable team, a steel-forged duo that faced any storm with heads held high. And success? Oh, success came like an avalanche, wrapping us in a web of financial comfort, recognition, and a prestige that completely transformed our lives. Suddenly, we were no longer just Harper and Christian, the dreamers. We were the visionaries, the ones to look up to in Santa Fe. My dear, who would have thought that complete fulfillment could taste so bitter? But like a subtle poison that infiltrates the bloodstream, along with all that prosperity came vanity. A treacherous voice that whispers in your ear that you're invincible, that the world is at your feet. And, of course, temptations. Doors opened, offering new opportunities, some disguised as irresistible business deals, others as seductive glances and knowing smiles. And Christian, my Christian, the man I thought I knew like the back of my hand, gave in. With my sharp instincts and the sensitivity of someone who built a life with her heart, I began to notice the cracks in our foundation. They weren't obvious signs, just small tremors that put me on alert. The business trips became more frequent, the destinations increasingly distant, and the days away from home stretched into weeks. The excuse was always the same. The company is growing, Harper. I need to expand our horizons. And I, foolish as I was, believed him, or maybe I preferred to believe. When he was home, Christian seemed like a ghost, physically present, but his soul, his mind, were somewhere else. His eyes, once so in sync with mine, now avoided my gaze, darting away with a speed that sent chills down my spine. And the smiles, oh, those evasive smiles, almost rehearsed, as if they were hiding an unspoken secret he didn't want me to uncover. His attention, once full and devoted, was now just crumbs, a leftover of what once was. A silent, cold, and deep abyss was slowly opening between us. I tried to fill that void with overwork at the company, burying myself in spreadsheets and meetings, but the hole in my chest only grew, an aching pain that refused to leave me. What I, Harper, in my blind naivety, had no idea of was that while I struggled to keep our empire standing and desperately tried to understand what was happening to the man I loved, Christian was diving into dark and treacherous waters. These weren't just innocent flirtations or occasional slip-ups. They were silent betrayals, almost whispered, but frighteningly frequent. He wove an intricate web of affairs with the skill of a master deceiver. An invisible net that entangled me, while he seemed to delight in his labyrinth of secrets and lies. The truth is often so cruel that the mind refuses to accept it, preferring the sweet illusion. And I, in my bubble of assumptions and empty hopes, had no idea how much damage was being done. Christian, oblivious to my pain, was spinning a new and dangerous web. He had fallen in love. Yes, he, the man who shared my bed and dreams, had given his heart to Evelyn. A younger woman, charming and ambitious, with that glint in her eyes that promises the world, but deep down only wants a slice of yours. Her desire was simple: to marry him, live the life of luxury Christian could offer, and of course, start a new life together. It was her fairy tale, built on the ruins of mine. Christian was hopelessly in love, or at least, that's what he told himself, or what Evelyn made him believe. But even with a divided heart, or perhaps because of it, his mind still worked coldly, calculating every step. He knew he couldn't abandon everything impulsively. After all, Harper, wasn't just his wife. I was a business partner, with contractual clauses that favored me in the event of betrayal. A rushed divorce, a scandal, could seriously compromise his standing in the company we had built together. The empire he coveted so much could collapse, and he wasn't willing to risk that. Passion for Christian had limits, and those limits were defined by the numbers in his bank account. That's when Evelyn's ambitious mind and Christian's cunning came together in a plan. A meticulous, silent, almost invisible plan, like a ghost moving in the shadows. They decided that the best strategy was to create a new life for Evelyn, far from Santa Fe, far from my eyes, but close enough for Christian to maintain his double life. He rented a house in a nearby town, Evelyn's hometown. A charming place, with tree-lined streets and that small-town feel that appeals to the most romantic types. To her family, the story was simple, perfect, with no loose ends. Evelyn was just starting her life over in a new town, seeking new opportunities, a new beginning. Who could suspect such a dedicated, bright young woman with so many plans? And so, Evelyn settled in, arranging her belongings, decorating each room with an enthusiasm that would have made me sick to my stomach if I'd known. She received discreet visits from Christian, who by then no longer belonged only to me. While Evelyn built her love nest, Christian began executing the second phase of the plan, emptying our house. Little by little, almost imperceptibly, he started moving his belongings. First, a few boxes of books he no longer used. Then some clothes that needed to be donated. And I, caught up in my exhausting work routine, focused on keeping the company on track and worried about his distant behavior, took too long to realize what was happening. But intuition, my old companion, started whispering to me. Pieces of clothing disappearing from the closet, personal items I was certain I'd seen just the week before and now had vanished. One less toothbrush on the bathroom counter, a pair of shoes no longer on the shoe rack. Small details, but together, they formed a disturbing puzzle. Of course, I asked questions. Christian, have you seen my book? The one that was on the nightstand. Or, honey, do you know what happened to that blue suit you love so much? And he, the master of excuses, always had an answer ready. With an evasive smile and a disturbingly calm tone, he explained that he was organizing some things for donation, that we were accumulating too much, and that he was separating what we no longer used to help families in need. Charity, the perfect disguise for his schemes. He spoke with such conviction that, for a moment, I began to doubt my own memory. Of course, darling, what a great idea. I'd reply, swallowing the sinking feeling that something wasn't adding up. Evelyn, already well-adjusted to her freshly built love nest, began pressuring Christian. She didn't just want a new life. She wanted recognition, a celebration, something that would make their relationship official to the world, and especially to her family, who had no idea someone named Harper even existed. Her family, of course, was ecstatic. Just imagine, their beloved daughter, starting over in a new town and with a charming, successful businessman by her side. To them, it was a modern fairy tale, not the story of a cruel betrayal. It was Evelyn who made the suggestion, a party. It didn't have to be a civil ceremony right away, but something symbolic, a celebration that confirmed Christian's commitment to her in front of everyone. An engagement party, maybe even a surprise wedding, something that would add a sense of legitimacy to their little adventure. And Christian, my husband, already so entangled in his own web of lies, agreed. He let himself be carried away by vanity and passion, or what he believed was passion. The idea of having Evelyn by his side, radiant and smiling, at the center of attention, must have seemed irresistible. A man blinded by ambition and desire is capable of the greatest madness. But Christian, despite his cunning, made a mistake. An error that, in the grand scheme of things, would seem insignificant to anyone else. But not to Harper. Not to the woman who built an empire by his side and who knew every comma, in our company's finances. He paid part of the party, yes, the wedding party with Evelyn, using a credit card linked directly to our business. That company, my dear, that I helped build brick by brick, sweat by sweat. I was reviewing the finances, as I routinely did, buried in spreadsheets and figures that used to make me proud. It was there, in the middle of countless transactions, that my eyes locked onto a strange expense. A significant amount, charged to an event venue in Evelyn's hometown. An event venue? For what? We didn't have any company events scheduled in that area, and Christian hadn't mentioned a thing. That charge was a dissonant note in a symphony I knew by heart. A wave of suspicion hit me harder than any doubts before. This wasn't just clothing disappearing. This was a large sum, carrying our company's name. My heart clenched, but my mind, it began working with the cold precision of a machine. I decided to investigate. With a calm I didn't even know I possessed, I called the venue. "Good afternoon," I said, using the most professional tone I could muster. "I'm from the accounting department of Company X, and I'm auditing some expenses. We have a charge here under a Mr. Christian, and I see it's related to an event with your venue. Could you kindly tell me the nature of this event?" The receptionist, unsuspecting and cheerful, replied enthusiastically, "Oh yes, the wedding of Ms. Evelyn and Mr. Christian. It's going to be a beautiful event, scheduled for the end of the month." Wedding. That word echoed in my mind like thunder. Wedding? Christian was getting married? I couldn't breathe for a second. I felt my blood freeze in my veins and then boil in my temples. The world spun. But I didn't collapse. Not there, not over the phone. I thanked the receptionist with the same calm voice, hung up the call, and sat in shock for a few moments. My husband. Marrying someone else. The pain that hit me was more than just betrayal. It was the pain of a life dismantled, a love trampled on, a trust shattered. But the shock gave way to a cutting coldness, a chilling clarity that took over every fiber of my being. There would be no tears, no drama. No, Harper wasn't that kind of woman. I needed concrete answers, irrefutable proof. And I knew exactly who to call. My brother, Iker. He was my safe harbor, my confidant. Iker, a former police investigator, with the sharpness and experience needed to uncover any mystery. I called him, my voice choked but firm. "Iker, I need you. It's about Christian. And it's serious." I didn't give details over the phone. The urgency in my voice said it all. He met me within a few hours, his face serious, but with that protective look only an older brother can have. I told him everything, every detail. Christian's changes, the missing clothes, the party venue charge, the call. When I finished, he simply nodded, his jaw clenched. "Harper, give me a few days. I'll follow Christian and find out the truth." And Iker, with his precision and flawless discretion, did his job. It didn't take long. Soon after, he called me, his deep voice confirming what my heart already knew but my mind still fought to accept. "Harper, he's going to marry her. That Evelyn. At the end of the month, just like the receptionist said." The confirmation of such a colossal betrayal hit me like lightning. But surprisingly, there was no despair. No screaming. Instead, a cold, strategic resolve took over. I looked into the abyss Christian had created and decided not to confront him. No, he didn't deserve a dramatic scene. He deserved something far greater, something he would never forget. Harper, wouldn't just expose the lie. I would rewrite the end of our story, in my own way, with the dignity and intelligence he so badly underestimated. When Christian, with his posture of an important businessman, told me he was going away on a business trip and would be gone for a few days, I knew exactly what he meant. Those days would be the time of his long-awaited wedding to Evelyn, the woman who dared to steal my place. My blood ran cold, but a thrill of adrenaline surged through my veins. The moment of truth was drawing near. On the eve of the big day, the one he believed to be the start of his new life, Iker and I set off for Victoria. The city's streets were filled with a kind of joy that felt grotesque to me. Just imagine, my dear. In just a few hours, right there, his farce would be performed. Of course, we weren't seen. We were shadows, planning each move with a surgeon's precision. In disguise, wearing simple clothes and unassuming expressions, we visited the venue where the ceremony would take place. A rather pretty place, with an elegant facade, but it would soon become the stage for the greatest humiliation of Christian's life. Iker, with his experience as a former investigator, was my right hand. While I observed the details of the decor that was already being set up, flowers, lights, over-the-top arrangements, he focused on what really mattered, the electrical system. My brother, a genius in his field, examined every wire, every power box, identifying with impressive speed how to shut down the generators. The plan was forming in my mind with crystal clarity. This wouldn't be cheap revenge. It would be a work of art. And then, the big day arrived. My dear, what irony! Christian, likely feeling like the king of the world, ready to seal his lie with a ring. The guests, unaware of everything, settled into the carefully arranged chairs, under an exuberant decor that now looked like a mockery. The bride and groom, Christian and Evelyn, exchanged tense looks, nervous, maybe even guilty. Little did they know that backstage, Harper, the betrayed wife, was preparing for her own grand performance. I was there, in disguise, hidden in a strategic corner, observing every movement, feeling the energy of the room, waiting for the perfect moment. My heart pounded, but my mind was cold, calculating. The orchestra began playing that classic entrance song. Evelyn appeared, beautiful in her wedding dress, and Christian with that forced smile of someone harboring a secret. The scene seemed perfect, a painting of fake happiness. And it was at that very moment, when their eyes met and the silent promise of a life together was about to be spoken, that I gave Iker the signal. Then, at the precise moment, like thunder on a clear day, the power was cut. The hall, once vibrant and illuminated, was plunged into sudden, suffocating darkness. The orchestra fell silent mid-note. The guests, confused, began whispering, voices blending into a murmur of perplexity. What happened? Did the lights go out? The tension was palpable. You could almost touch it. And in that moment of chaos and confusion, I stepped in. With a megaphone in hand, provided by Iker, I stepped forward, my heart pounding like a drum. The voice I had trained to sound firm and sharp echoed through the hall, amplified by the sudden silence. My dear, it was a moment of pure catharsis. Attention, dear guests. I began, feeling a smile of pure steel form on my lips. The party has been interrupted, due to a lack of shame. Thank you for your understanding. The hall erupted into chaos. Whispers turned into screams, exclamations of shock and outrage. I saw Christian's face go pale, his mouth opening and closing silently, his eyes fixed on me in disbelief. Evelyn, at his side, looked like a wax statue, her white dress turning into a shroud of humiliation. Wasting no time, I exposed the charade. For those who don't know me, I'm Harper, Christian's wife. Yes, he's married. And he's here today, trying to get married again, to this young lady. The words young lady came out laced with venom I didn't even know I had. And I'm here to put an end to this farce, this tasteless comedy. Pandemonium broke loose. Some guests, outraged by the scene and the lie, stood up and left, muttering words of disapproval. Others, oh, those stayed, glued to the scandal like they were watching the best movie of their lives. Cell phones went up. Cameras flashed. The news, my dear, exploded faster than gunpowder on social media and in the local press. The wedding of the year became the scandal of the century. In the days that followed, my story was everywhere in the news. I, Harper, had suddenly become the woman who exposed the traitor. I gave only the essential interviews, just enough to legitimize my version of events, so there would be no doubt about the truth. Headlines screamed, Santa Fe businessman caught red-handed, or wife exposes husband at his own wedding. Dignity, my dear, was my armor, and truth, my sword. And with it, I had severed the ties of a lie that had almost suffocated me. The days following the spectacle in the event hall were, for me, Harper, a strange mix of relief and strategic coldness. The dust of the scandals still lingered in the air. The headlines continued to echo Christian's exposed farce, but within me, a new calm began to settle. I had done what needed to be done, and the sense of justice, of having acted with intelligence and dignity, was a balm for the open wounds. I didn't waste time. With the same determination I used to build our company, I now dedicated myself to rebuilding my own life. Days after the infamous interrupted wedding, I filed for divorce. There was no drama, no tears. Just the cold resolve of a woman who knew what she wanted and how to get it. I had all the proof of the betrayal: Christian's flight records to meet Evelyn, the bank statements with the wedding venue expenses tied to our company, and of course, the photos and videos that had flooded social media from that chaotic day. With full legal backing and the unwavering support of my lawyer, there was no argument. The contractual clauses that Christian, in his arrogance, had forgotten or ignored were there to protect me. Most of the company I helped build, every brick, every drop of sweat, was now under my full control. It was fair. It was mine by right. And what was his, or what he thought was his, dissolved like a sandcastle in the tide. Christian, my ex-husband, was in ruins. He had no arguments, no way to defend himself. The public backlash had devastated him in a way that not even his worst nightmare could have imagined. His once impeccable and respected image in business circles was now tarnished, reduced to dust. His pride, which once swelled in his chest, was now an open wound, exposed for all to see. He accepted the terms of the divorce without even contesting them, a defeated man, ashamed and finally brought to his knees. Vanity, my dear, comes at a high price. And Evelyn? Oh, Evelyn. The younger, charming, and ambitious woman. She quickly realized that Christian's glow, the one that had drawn her in like a firefly to a flame, was fading. The ruin of his image and finances made her back away faster than a lightning bolt. Without the structure that upheld the luxurious facade, no more fancy dinners, no more trips, no more gifts. Life by Christian's side lost all its charm, all its sparkle. What she wanted was a fairy tale, not a story of bankruptcy and shame. She walked away without a shred of remorse, like someone discarding a useless object. Ambition, my dear, is a double-edged sword. Alone, ashamed and bankrupt, Christian stayed in Victoria's house, the one he had rented for a love nest that never came to be. That place, meant to be the refuge of his new life, became the prison of his old one. Without the perks, the status, the wealth that once defined him, he found himself forced to take on temporary jobs just to survive. Christian, the once successful businessman, was now just an ordinary man struggling to pay the bills, a ghost of his former self. Irony is cruel, isn't it? The man who threw everything away on a whim was now living the consequences of his choices. Harper, on the other hand, reclaimed my life with a dignity Christian could never take from me. I kept the company under my control, and it's thriving more than ever. It wasn't easy, of course, but each day I feel the strength of a woman reborn from the ashes. The peace of having taken justice into my own hands, intelligently, without losing the elegance that always defined me, is something priceless. My dear, this story is a reminder that the truth, no matter how much they try to hide it, always finds a way. And that a woman's strength, when put to the test, can move mountains. The end of the marriage was not my end. It was my new beginning. And life is like that. It surprises us, knocks us down, but also gives us the chance to rise again, stronger and wiser than ever before. So, what did you think of Harper? Who would have thought that elegance would stay intact even when she decided to speak up, huh? If you were surprised or had a good laugh, leave your comment below. And of course, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next stories that will shake your heart.